Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jamie Martin. Just taking a look at what's going on with Henri, creating a lot of problems up through parts of New England, over towards New York right now. And a lot of it is in the form of rain, not just the wind coming in. So dealing with a lot of problems in that location. In fact, we have one of our newest team members up there. Matt Capucci he's up there right now, and he's taking a close eye looking at that. We're going to talk with him in just a moment. Going to talk a little bit more about what it's like around New York City coming up in just a minute. I've been really watching all the different warnings that we have going on. Again, with our app, you got to keep this handy at all times because it is very, very busy in that location. In fact, taking a little bit closer look, you can see all the different warnings. We have all these flood warnings in effect right now. You got some power outages, things like that going on. And we've seen numerous areas that have seen up to 2 to 4 inches, if not more rain already. We got more rain flipping the way in right now. In fact, let me turn that back on. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. You're talking about a lot of activity pushing back in. In fact, here it is, pretty much inundated. Our map there, it goes from being able to be seen underneath it, but believe it or not, New Jersey, New York, parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island are all underneath this right now. And you can see just how heavy some of that rain is coming down right now. And it's pretty steady, that is for sure. And it's going to continue to be like this coming up over the next 24 to 48 hours in some locations. So we're talking about a lot of activity going on at the present time. Now, of course, I am down in Orlando, Florida right now. So I'm sitting in the dry area. Well, even if I have an afternoon shower or a thunderstorm, it's going to move on pretty quickly. But they're going to get a lot of rain, and it's going to be sticking around like that for quite a bit. So again, let's head off to Matt right now and get the very latest on what it's been like being inside of all of this going on. Started last night. I remember, Matt, when you were traveling up from D.C., you were over towards Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I was seeing just how heavy the rain was already there. And now we've got some very heavy rain into parts of New York, that's for sure. What's it like right now, and what have you been seeing lately, at least over the last few hours?
Jamie, I'm getting ready to build an ark. This storm hasn't really impressed me from the perspective of wind, but rainfall has been very serious. You know, Central Park last night got about 3.32 inches of rain in 2 hours' time. First time on record. They've had 2 consecutive hours with 1.3 inches or more. Last night, total about 4.5 inches of rain. That's roughly a month's worth of rainfall in New York City in just a couple hours' time. Then this afternoon, another 2 to 4 inches, like you just said. They're seeing 1 inch per hour rainfall rates now. Flash flood warnings in effect. This entire area is just absolutely waterlogged. And driving in from the east, I was in a little bit southwest of Providence, Rhode Island earlier on for the eye wall to move ashore. Got winds to about 60 miles an hour, but moving west, I got alternating bands of sunshine, then back to some rain, and now we are just in the thick of this big solid band. And that rain is not moving at all. In fact, it's almost like you can go kind of wet, dry, in, out at the edge of it. And that edge is just staying there, and it's sitting right over New York City. And when you have that kind of rainfall over a city of 10 plus million people, it's very problematic. And that's why we've seen so many issues with even water rescues in New Jersey earlier on. They saw 8 inches yesterday. Now the focus of heavy rainfall is right over northern New Jersey, New York City. I'm in Yonkers at the moment. We're getting about inch per hour rainfall rates, maybe more at times. My phone just buzzed with a flash flood emergency, or rather a flash flood warning, an emergency alert for the National Weather Service. And it comes as no surprise seeing this rainfall. Driving in, underpasses were flooding, cars were pulled over, trying to just get out of the heavy rainfall because nobody wants to travel in this. The saving grace for us is that it's the weekend. It's Sunday. It is not a commute day, so to speak. But really, to get rainfall like this over such a densely populated area for hours on end is problematic. On screen right now, you can see that's some of the footage I got earlier on when I was in Rhode Island when the surge was coming ashore. The surge wasn't quite as bad as forecast. It was about 2 to 3 feet. But there you can see it's lapping up against the edge of buildings, really entering some residences too. It really focused on areas that were right along the immediate shoreline, of course. There wasn't too much inland inundation, but still a 2 to 3 foot surge. That's 2 to 3 feet of flooding above ordinarily dry ground, and that's why you can see in those images we had marshy areas that were completely submerged. We had homes that were having the water come up to their front doors or even into the homes in some places. And so we're fortunate that from that end, the saltwater flooding wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. But the real story, I think the legacy of this storm will be the freshwater flooding. And just like we're getting in New York City right now, a lot of folks tonight dealing with a headache in terms of just how much rain is coming down.
Yeah, Matt, one of the things you're probably going to see is those big problems when you're around the New York area. A lot of people running around trying to get things done or just out in general. Probably a real nightmare. And what are people going to do tomorrow morning when it comes to getting to work? Because it's going to be a nightmare on the roads and, of course, down in the subways, things like that. Have you heard of any kind of problems yet as far as people getting in maybe coming up tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning, I'm hoping things should have subsided, but this ban has been sitting there for the past 24-ish hours. It started last night in New Jersey. I was driving through it, and we were getting blinding downpours at times. And today, a similar story. And I think, earlier on, we showed some radar estimates of 6 inches plus of rainfall in New Jersey. And radar in environments like this tends to underestimate how much rain has come down because of the type of precipitation, the size of the raindrops. What we're seeing right now is what's called a warm rain process. The raindrops are smaller. Most of the time, we're talking heavy rainfall. We get these downpours, thunderstorms in the summertime. That's a cold rain process. The raindrops are big. It's usually melting hail coming down. You get these big drops that splatter around. They add up quickly, and you get brief but torrential downpours in these summertime storms. And that results when you get an instability, a lot of upward motion in the atmosphere. With tropical cyclones, the atmosphere, even though it's raining just about everywhere, is really quite stable. You're not seeing quite as strong of upward motion, just broad lifting everywhere. And so you're not lifting high enough to get hail formation in the clouds. You're just having kind of a general production of rainfall, and so the droplets are smaller. But I can tell you, they add up quickly, and that's why here we're seeing such heavy rain. I haven't heard too much about the subway yet. Haven't heard too much about the traffic situation for tomorrow. That said, I expect many areas of stagnant water. I'm already seeing a number of roads right now that have water on them, some 6 inches plus deep in many areas. Underpasses farther south of the city, I imagine, must be in pretty rough shape. And I know New Jersey, they've been conducting water rescues, especially in, I believe it was Monmouth and Middlesex counties, due to all that rainfall they got both last night and again today. So it is an evolving situation. Hopefully things get better tomorrow, but we have a ways to go before this rainfall event is done. And that's why flash flood warnings remain in effect for the Big Apple until at least 8 o'clock tonight.
Matt, that's one of the things. Where are you going to be heading from here to where coming up over the next 24 hours? You're probably going to be up there kind of chasing and seeing how things are going around. Where do you think you're going to be heading from where you are right now? Where are you going to be heading for the rest of the evening and into the overnight?
This evening, I'll probably return back to Elizabeth, New Jersey. There's a good hotel there that is situated in a place where I can access different areas for flooding, but hopefully won't be experiencing flooding myself. I liked it, too, because as silly as it sounds, panoramic views. I could watch the lightning. I could see everything I needed to see. We had a good view of the New York City skyline. And one thing that really surprised me last night, you may have seen the viral video of lightning striking the, I think it was what's the building in New York City that's 1,776 feet? It's One World Trade Center. I'm sorry. It struck One World Trade Center. And I was surprised to see that we were getting lightning last night because it's atypical to get lightning in tropical cyclones. But I think that really indicates what type of event this was. This wasn't purely just a tropical situation. It wasn't just a tropical storm making landfall here. It's the interaction between the tropical cyclone and a front, a boundary, a disturbance off to the west. And when you combine tropical moisture with mid-latitude forcing, mid-latitude characteristics to brew storms to begin with, you get that real double whammy where it's really the worst of both worlds. And that's why we're seeing rainfall rates for an extended period of time topping 1 inch per hour.
Yep, I totally agree with what you were saying about the whole concept of the fact that it's different, something you don't normally see. That's one thing that I found so fantastic after a couple of years working in television, doing weather. One of the things I really find fascinating is the fact that no matter how much you learn you don't know everything. And that's the greatest thing about what you're doing right now for us and for everybody is you're out there in the middle of it. You're telling us what's going on and you're observing things. You're looking at it a little bit different than most normal people do. I want to call them normal, just a normal,
I
people.
know I'm abnormal.
They're looking at the rain, but you're looking at it in a different way. You're looking at it as an educational experience. And that's what I really enjoy hearing about is because it's teaching us that this could easily happen again. And what have we, what can we learn from it, and what can we be better at the next time? And that's what I find you're so valuable in helping us do something like that. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. That means the world. I really appreciate it, especially coming from folks like you who have looked up to you for so long. But I think you hit the nail on the head there about how can we get better next time, because this event, I think, underscores the communication challenges of tropical cyclones. So often the public will focus only on the category. Oh, it's a tropical storm, it's not as bad. Or, oh, it's a category 1, not as bad as category 3. Realistically, only about 18-ish%, if I'm remembering correctly, of fatalities result from wind during tropical cyclones. The rest, surge, but the number one, the plurality of it is freshwater flooding. We're seeing a heck of a lot of freshwater flooding today, up and down the tri-state area, the Northeast, even parts of the Mid-Atlantic. You're seeing storms in D.C. right now that are prompting flood advisories. And I really think we need to get better as an entire field about communicating flood threats in the realm of tropical cyclones. We think back to Imelda a couple years ago in October of 2019. That was a tropical depression when it was lashing the Golden Triangle of Texas, Louisiana, with rainfall accumulations upwards of 45 inches. But it didn't have one of those fancy, sexy titles like tropical storm or like hurricane. I think a lot of people sort of wrote it off. But these type of rainfall events, especially in an era where the atmosphere can hold more water thanks to climate change, will become increasingly common and something we need to get better at forecasting. And even last night, the models were starting to converge in that one thick band of rain moving from New Jersey up to New York City today and really pivoting over the same areas. But I think so much focus was on where was the cone going, where's the center going, that a lot of media outlets really forgot to communicate, or I should say under-communicated, where the real threat was, and that's the rainfall. Because realistically, in the Northeast, 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, yes, they're impactful, but we get those in the wintertime, even though fully leafed trees are more susceptible to high winds. But 8, 9, 10 inches of rainfall, we don't get that all the time. In fact, very rarely do we get that. And so to get top-tier flooding like this in one of the most densely populated areas in the United States is something that is worth writing home about. And I'm glad that as a field, we can kind of step back and say, hey, here's how we can better communicate this threat next time so people know it's not just the wind, it's not just the surge, it's the rainfall too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Boy, Matt, thank you so much for your help. I'm giving you a gold star for your work today. That's for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, best of luck. Be very safe out there, and we'll be in contact with you either later on this evening or definitely tomorrow morning, and we'll find out more about what's going on, because I'm sure it's going to be a very busy overnight for the folks up there, especially the emergency officials, that's for sure.
I can imagine. Hey, thanks again so much for having me, and kudos to MyRadar for everything you've done covering this storm, and it's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Matt. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon. All right, let's get and move on a little bit more. I'm going to show everybody a little bit more about what's going on. We've been looking at what's going on as far as the storm is concerned. Again, Henri moving its way off. So let me go ahead and just move ahead and give you a little more information here. Looking over, as you can see, the actual center of circulation becoming post-tropical fairly soon, but as you can see, it's still going to be a problem as we get into the Monday time period here. Through 2 p.m., it's still going to have winds of about 30 miles per hour, so that's not going to be the problem. But as Matt was saying, it's going to be all that very, very heavy rain that's going to be moving its way around in that location. So again, that's going to be the big problem as we head our way through Monday. It should be moving very quickly, though, eventually back off, just off of the coastal sections here of Maine and maybe New Hampshire. New Hampshire does have a small little section there that is right up against the Atlantic. And again, it's going to be moving over through there very quickly, moving its way during the day on Tuesday offshore very quickly. So again, it's going to be moving its way off pretty quickly. So that's going to be moving its way out. But again, still going to be dealing with it with that very heavy rain, as you can see, spreading all the way into Pennsylvania. So a lot of folks are going to be dealing with the rain all the way through the rest of tonight and a good chunk of tomorrow. Here's again the watches. As you can see, the watches actually, they were full. A lot of those watches and the warnings have now been expired for that. So again, we're not going to be looking at any more of the tropical storm or, of course, hurricane watches or warnings, anything like that, because basically it's lost that ability, because it's lost all of that power as far as the wind goes, but it still has all of that rain. That's going to be the big problem. We're going to see plenty of times there. I do want to show you a real quick little thing going on right now. Tropics, I'm watching it very carefully. So far, so good. Got a lot of scattered clouds here and showers moving over towards the Yucatan. So far, so good, though. The Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, not bad. And the good news here, I want to give everybody good news because we've been talking about Henri so much today and really the last couple of days, is that right now there's only about a 10% chance of the next wave that's well off in the central part of the Atlantic coming in, becoming anything. Only about a 10% chance coming up over the next 5 days. So far, it looks like we're going to be fairly quiet as we head into this upcoming weekend, but we're still going to be dealing with plenty of activity going on through the rest of tonight, through a big chunk of our Monday, as that area of low pressure, what's left of Henri, continues to move through parts of New England, and everything starts to get pushed offshore as our front finally moves its way out. So it looks like things will eventually start to quiet down. Until then, though, be very careful if you know anybody that's up there in parts of New Jersey, New York, over towards Connecticut, Rhode Island, and eventually over in parts of Massachusetts. You're picking up some heavy rain, western parts around the Berkshires. Going to see the possibility of some flooding there also, maybe, so we got to be careful of that. And again, moving its way through the southern parts of Vermont and also New Hampshire before it moves its way offshore. So again, if you know anybody up there, just check on them, make sure everything is okay. Just make sure that if you're there, don't forget, tomorrow is a work and a school day. If it hasn't been canceled, you do have to get out there. Just be very careful and watch out for all that rain that will be continuing to come down. Again, we do appreciate you counting on us for helping you out during things like this, the tropics and severe weather in general, right here with MyRadar. And of course, we will keep you updated.